Gray, Nindelawasi Flo. Hi, my name is Flo, and today we're going to talk about salmon. Normally, if you caught this salmon, you wouldn't have the cut down the center here, but if you purchased it at the grocery store, you're going to find that the fish has been cut from the tail up to the head, and then all of the organs and stomach contents have been removed for you. And you'll find this cavity here. They've cut between the two back fins here, straight up the center, and they've gone just under the surface so that they don't cut the contents that's in there. The next thing that you're going to do is remove the head from the fish. I usually cut right behind these two fins here so that I can take out all of this cartilage and everything all at the same time. Now you're going to keep this head. When you cook fish heads and bones in a stock or chowder, some nutrients from the head and bones will be in the stock or chowder. Calcium is one nutrient found in fish bones. Getting enough calcium in your diet can help you maintain healthy teeth and bones. The fish heads and bones also add more flavor to stocks and chowders. Inside of here, you'll find a lot of meat and the tongue. Be very careful with the mouth because they have teeth in there. So to remove the meat from the bones, I will start by cutting through the skin next to the back fin on the underside of the fish and cut through the skin all the way to the tail. Traditionally, we would use all the parts of this fish in some way. As I already mentioned, we could use the bones to make broth or soup, but we could also use them for other things. For example, the bones from this fish could also be put in a composter, and the compost can be used as fertilizer in a garden. Remove the meat from the bones by gently working the knife along the bones towards the back of the fish and down towards the backbone. I do this by holding the bones and allowing the meat to pull away from the bones as I work the knife through. This allows me to see where I'm cutting better. Your knife should be positioned to cut close to the bones to reduce the amount of meat that's left behind. Always make sure that you're cutting away from yourself. Moving my fingers around carefully, I can feel the tail bones. At the halfway point, I have to work the knife gently around the backbone and then down the bones that run from the backbone to the back of the fish, making sure to keep my fingers out of the way of the knife. I cut through the skin at the back of the fish to release the tail. As you can see, the backbone and all of the bones that are attached to it are still connected to the other side of the tail, leaving the side that was cut off boneless. To remove the ribs, I need to insert the tip of my knife just below the first couple of bones in the lower rib cage near the tail of the side I just removed the bones from, close to the backbone, and gently work it outward to loosen the bones and detach them from the meat. I continue to work the ribs away from the meat until I have them all loosened. As you can see, the bones that are found in fish can be very small. The ribs stay held together by a small amount of meat and a thin skin-like layer. This skin separates the inside of the fish from the meat. When the ribs have been loosened, I insert my knife with the edge pointed towards the backbone under the rib cage. I gently work the knife along the backbone towards the back of the fish. About halfway along the backbone, I find another small set of ribs. If you listen, you'll be able to hear as the knife runs over these bones. Some fish have these ribs that run out from the backbone just below the skin on both sides of the fish. These bones help the fish to move through the water. I run the knife along the top of these small ribs, working the knife towards the sides to loosen the meat from the top. Insert the tip of the knife under the small ribs and work them free from the meat. At this point, I work the knife down the bones that run from the backbone to the back of the fish. I'm sure to place the knife under the small side ribs so that they are not cut through as the meat is removed. Small bones can be a choking hazard for anyone who eats the fish. I then cut through the skin to remove the meat from the bones. Turning the fish around, I begin removing the ribs in the same way that was done on the first side. I gently work the knife outward to loosen the bones and detach them from the meat. I will continue to remove the ribs from the meat, sliding the tip under a few bones at a time until I have them all loosened. Again, I work my knife gently along the backbone to loosen the meat, working towards the fin on the back of the tail. To remove this fin, I slide the tip of the knife between the fin bones and the meat, cutting through the skin along the back of the fish to release it. I insert my knife with the edge point towards the backbone under the rib cage and gently work the knife along the backbone towards the back of the fish. About halfway along the backbone are the small set of ribs we found on the other side. These bones run from the backbone to just below the skin on the side of the fish. I run my knife along the top of these small ribs, working the knife towards the outside of the fish to release them from the meat. Once they are free on the top, I put the tip of the knife under these ribs and work them completely free from the meat. Working along the entire length of the fish, starting at the tail, I carefully run the knife along the bones towards the back of the fish to remove the meat. Once the meat has been separated from the bones, cut through the skin to remove the bones completely. Thanks for joining us today to learn about filleting a fish. We hope to see you again next time.